Pokemon aren't always balanced, and some can even ruin the games they're in. Some Pokemon are beloved by fans, and some are just so hated that fans are completely open to about their dislike of said Pokemon. Today we're going to take a look at some Pokemon that are cool in concept, but led to the game being competitively balanced, led to a poor playthrough experience, or even just led to infamy in its own generation. That being said, I think it's best we start it where it all started, Generation 1. One of the greatest things about Generation 1 was how you could go any way you'd want after the third gym. You're able to choose which order you take on most gyms, where you go, and how you get there. But one thing is certain in your journey, you'll have to venture into caves or mountains to advance. And do you know what's in mountains? That's right, bats. Having to be forced to go through most caves where almost every space is an encounter slot, which means you're going to be encountering a lot of Pokemon, and Zubat being encounterable in all caves, while having the highest encounter rate in the first of those two caves, is going to be one of the Pokemon you see the most in your Kanto adventure. This has led some of the meme about there are too many Zubat, that they're annoying, or that they cause a major inconvenience. Combine its high encounter rate with its supersonic attack to cause confusion, and now you have a Pokemon that's designed to slow down your playthrough, definitely harming your chances at a fun playthrough for at least a solid portion of the start of the game. And just like Zubat, here's the click subscribe button that pops up every video, and like the video while you're at it. Each Pokemon game, the main goal outside the Elite Four is to complete the Pokedex. Game Freak tends to artificially milk playtime by giving some Pokemon a lower encounter rate, making some static encounters require playing through the Elite Four if knocked out, or by giving you roaming legendaries. But what if Game Freak gave you a Pokemon that was near impossible to encounter, that you had a lower chance to randomly encounter than a shiny Pokemon? That would be what Feebas is. In Generation 3, Feebas was only encounterable on one of 6 slots and one location on a route most players will probably just speed through. If you find out where you're able to encounter Feebas, you'll still have to figure out which tiles you can encounter on, or even then, you still have to find out which tile is hosting the Feebas at that particular time. Yes, that's right. The available tile randomly changes. Game Freak has provided no explanation as to how to determine which tile Feebas is on, but thankfully, the tiles are well known and widely shared to avoid causing the issue to affect players replaying Ruby or Sapphire. However, that doesn't mean that many players' Generation 3 experience weren't tarnished by this horrible mechanic. The coolest Pokemon can always leave a major impact on players, even if they aren't the strongest Pokemon. Charizard took over the scene by being a powerful dragon, despite lacking the power or typing to be as ferocious as some of the actual dragon-typing Pokemon, like Garchomp, for example. Garchomp's sleek design, amazing stats, and with its trainer, the powerful Cynthia, it's become a fan-favorite Pokemon. If it's so fan-favorite, why is it on the list for Pokemon that have ruined its game? In Pokemon, there are some unspoken rules, and one of those rules is that champions will have a Pokemon of all the same typing. So imagine players' surprise when Cynthia walks up with a highly competitive team consisting of powerful walls and this ferocious dragon. Players experiencing this legendary champion's team for the first time will quickly be dispatched before even seeing her ace. But upon seeing her ace, they'll quickly see how powerful Garchomp can be. With a high speed stat for the time and insanely high attack, this pseudo-legendary can steamroll through most teams unless you come prepared for it. And considering its only weaknesses were Ice, an extremely weak typing at the time, and Dragon, an extremely rare typing at the time, it's no wonder that Garchomp was able to devastate the remainder of an average player's team and force an entire E4 rematch at least a couple times. Pokemon has had a lot of creative designs and have inspired Pokemon fans to create their own fake ones and even entire games with similar art styles and designs. But not all Pokemon are created with the same level of creativity. The main Pokemon often pointed to being Garbodor's evolutionary line. Being a literal pile of garbage, this Pokemon often is called the least creative or uninspired Pokemon. Disregarding its design for a second, it actually has lackluster stats and abilities that aren't extremely viable in competitive play or for a casual playthrough. Another issue many players have with this pile of garbage is that in the TCG, it has an ability that prevents Pokemon abilities from existing, an ability often not liked by many TCG players. With an ability like this and a reputation in the design aspects, it's easy to see why many players experience this Pokemon for the first time might be a little miffed that it exists. Hopefully someone takes out this trash soon and replaces it with something a little better. In life, there are two things that are certain: death and Pokemon players cringing when they hear the attack called Geomancy. Xerneas was a format-working Pokemon in almost all its forms, both card and video games. In the video games to start off, it was shoehorned into a story with little to no reference to the fact that it existed until it was just there. If that didn't make it bad enough for casual playthroughs, it also ranked the online ladder by coming with a move called Geomancy, which would increase its stats drastically after one turn of charging. However, players could ignore the downside using the item Power Hurt, allowing Xerneas to gain an Omni Boost essentially at the cost of a hold item. This combination warped the format around Xerneas, allowing Pokemon like Ditto and Pokemon that could learn Psych-Up to be stronger in the format. In the Pokemon TCG, this brilliant Pokemon shone through by being one of the strongest energy rampers in its format, and some of the heaviest hitters at the time. This Pokemon may not look like much, but it certainly left its impact on many of new players and veterans alike. Many Pokemon have 2 or more abilities, but not all of them were available at the time of release, one of those being Incineroar. At the time of release, Incineroar was a rather good Pokemon, having a good move pool and some decent bulk, also having a rather good design. However, it didn't have the extra oomph that would come with its hidden ability. However, upon receiving its hidden ability, the format instantly warped around its existence. Its ability to intimidate alongside its ability to cycle in and out with Parting Shot, Incineroar was able to immediately set itself as a strong support. But not just that, it also has access to the powerful utility move named Fake Out and high damaging moves like Darkest Lariat and Flare Blades. Combine all those things and it's no wonder that many video game players can't stand that the Pokemon exist. Box art legendary Pokemon have been a mainstay of the franchise since Generation 2. They've been a goalpost to work towards right out of the gate. But what happens when the Pokemon is so dominating that it not only reigns supreme in the video games, but it also dominated the Pokemon Unite and TCG scene for quite a while? That's right, you get Zacian. Add on to the fact that many players found Zacian's inclusion in the story to be confusing. Like, why is Zacian suddenly here? Did it come from the sword? Why does this weirdo with the weird sword hair want to claim Zacian for himself? Why did Zacian run away after we fought Eternatus? With such a confusing inclusion of the story, a dominating presence in side games and the TCG, and a dominating presence in its format in the video game series, it's no wonder that this Pokemon has left a sour taste in a lot of players' mouths. I want to take a second to share a goal I have. I want to get every Pokemon shiny with a copy of each for each of its abilities it has. That has my OT and a Pokeball. This sounds annoying, right? Well, what's more annoying is when Pokemon make shiny legendaries, mythicals, or just generic Pokemon locked behind location-based events where you've locked onto a different trainer's OT or limited time in-game events. Which brings me to the Pokemon we're talking about now, Gimmighoul. Currently, the only way to have legally obtained a Gimmighoul was to get it during the week-long event, whereas at full odds with no way to manipulate the odds. Thankfully, I saved the event to my Switch. However, as of scripting, I still need to obtain 2 of these Gimmighouls, and I've been grinding it out for months. Not just its lack of an easy-to-access shiny, but also how you go out about evolving this Pokemon plays a major role in why players don't like this Pokemon. Having to hunt down just under 1,000 coins to evolve this Pokemon, with the max amount of coins you can get per battle being 50, but as low as 1, it could take hours and hours upon grinding to simply reach the halfway mark to evolve this Pokemon. And what do you get for evolving this Pokemon? The String Cheese guy. With such big letdowns like how to obtain a shiny, how to evolve this Pokemon, and what it evolves into, can you blame players for disliking this Pokemon? What's some Pokemon that hurt your playthrough experience? What's some Pokemon that you wish didn't exist, or didn't want around for a particular reason? Tell me in the comment section down below, and be sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this one.